So every minister today is experiencing the issue of people who are overscheduled, are overbusy, and I think that's true of youth ministry as well, where our youth are so overextended, and it can be really difficult to get a critical mass of folks sometimes to commit to a week or 10 days or however long to be able to go away for a period of time. Some of us are in smaller churches who can't get critical mass. How can someone in that situation foster a liminal experience or an ability to foster a liminal space here at home as opposed to going away?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And even youth workers who have larger groups will have weekends and times when they just can't get on the radar or the calendar with a significant number of kids. So it's something that everybody needs to think about. And I think the doorway to the answer to that question is a reflection by a theologian on the work of the Turners, who said, you know, when I see how the Turners understand a pilgrimage, it's a spiritual experience enacted physically. And the spiritual experience of a led meditation or a Benedictine Lectio Divina is a spiritual journey of a pilgrimage without moving. So if you take that insight that the Turners and the Gnep, liminal space really is a space where there is a transcendence, a movement beyond self that opens one into an encounter of the living God and the Holy Spirit. Well, then we have a lot of practices that do not require feet moving 1,000 miles to the Holy Shrine. We could imagine longer or shorter, but it certainly doesn't require 10 kids, and it certainly doesn't require $100. In which, let's say, in an ideal space, you could just get everybody in a car and go to a local nature center. You could fashion just in that kind of space, you could fashion a notion of anticipation of departure, aspirations, identified goals and objectives, a breakdown of order, rank, etc., and leaning into anti-structure, celebrating the departure, creating space and spiritual experiences for the encounter, and then ritualizing the turn to home and the return. I think every youth minister can imagine what that would look like, just shaping an afternoon to the nature center or local park or a waterfall. But actually the logic of Turner's argument is you don't have to leave the youth room. You don't have to leave the church building, because we have 2,000 years of Christian practices of spiritual exercises. So to take the most concrete example, Ignatius of Loyola was spiritually brilliant and psychologically brilliant. And a Ignatian-led meditation, imagine it's feeding the 5,000. What Ignatius sets up for the led meditation is you leave home, you follow Jesus out across the dusty paths. He asks you all to sit down. The sun is rising in the field. What does the sun feel like? What's it like in the dust of the crowd? You haven't eaten all day. He preaches and everyone is, well, anyway, you understand how the Ignatian meditation leads. You have departed. You have traveled. You are in a leveling experience of anti-structure, and the function of the spiritual exercise is to help you move out of self-consciousness, out of self-centeredness, into a space where you're available for transcendent communion, and then to bring you back. You've never left your chair. So it is the nature of the great spiritual exercises of our church to create this liminal experience in overtly spiritual practices. And I would say, although it's a challenge for any minister, I actually think the preaching event follows this model. Any preacher who thinks he's getting up to make the 3 ethical points or 3 points about Bible Story A that would look very much like my lecture in the fellowship hall about Bible Story A is not preaching. Preaching, I think, and I'm not a homiletics professor, but I think this goes for a lifetime of my preaching and reflections with youth. You want to begin by taking them on a journey. And you travel somewhere together in the preaching event. and you're hoping to create the possibility of spiritual openness and transformation in the preaching event before you return home, maybe with a charge to go forth and do likewise. So I think I'm opening the door to almost the universality of church practices have the potential of being shaped with intentionality to create liminal experience.
Sure.